Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about LeetCode and competitive programming. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do you feel about people who do competitive programming, but to me it seems that most of them don't actually know how to write real applications. And I've never really had any time to spend with people who exclusively focus on competitive programming, but the short answer is that it's a useful skill to have, to be able to express solutions to complicated problems and even win competitions with it, but it may not be as useful as you think. So the argument that I'm making here is not that you shouldn't be practicing your algorithmic thinking, or that you shouldn't be part of a community of people who tries to squeeze the absolute living shit out of the performance or solutions to complicated problems. What I will argue though is that for most software developers, this is, although it might be a useful pastime, the question that this person is posing is sort of in the line that, okay, this is all these people do, or like this is all you do. You're only focusing on competitive programming and trying to get the best O notations, or trying to get the best execution times, or the most elegant solution to a specific problem. Now, what I will argue to you is that although this is useful, the question remains, are you solving a problem that is of value to solve? Now, what I mean by that is basically that if you are extremely good at solving a sort of problem that only really exists in the competitive world or the academic world or something like that, but you're not able to produce like applications, which is what most of the industry is looking for. Like that's pretty much what all programmers do, except for a small niche group of people who are actually hired to solve extremely complicated problems. Usually these are computer scientists and data analysts and so forth, but software engineers usually focus on application development. So if you don't know how to structure a code base, or like use architecture or tests or anything like that, and you're only focused on this algorithmic solution type of thing, then I will argue to you that the only benefit that you're gaining from that sort of niche mindset is if the problems that you are solving is in some fashion helping you solve other problems. Because I hope we can agree that for job purposes, knowing how to solve complicated problems but that nobody's really asking you to solve is really only useful in a academic or a competitive context, while the people who can solve real world problems where there's actually a tangible value from solving those problems, the people who can deal with that sort of thing, well, they're more useful. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not smart. See, this is the thing. We have to make a distinction between being smart and being useful, if that makes sense. That sounds absolutely horrible, I know, but it kind of comes down to that. I have met many programmers and been in tons of interviews with people like that who are academically gifted to the point where, it's hard for them to just function socially. They are extremely good at figuring out extremely complicated problems, but the sad fact is that, as the subscriber is stating, they lack the ability to work in a team, they lack the ability to collaborate with other people, or they lack the ability to actually just take a step back from their super mega ultra solution that might win them 20 competitions and actually solve the problem in a feasible amount of time, because they don't understand what software development is about. And I've stated this a few times before. For better or for worse, it doesn't matter all that much if you can solve a problem 10 times more efficiently than somebody else, unless that is the requirement. Usually what matters is that you solve the problem in the time that you are given. You want to produce the best possible solution in that time frame. If you can do that, then everything's great. But if you come into a technical interview and you're a competition winner or something like that, and I ask you to set together a simple to-do app or something like that, and you can't because you're either overcomplicating the problem or you simply don't work in that fashion, then even if you're extremely talented and extremely smart, it's still gonna seem like you can't really do the job. And I'm sorry to say that the job is not to write a very efficient algorithm to a academic problem, which is the case for most of these code katas or LeetCode or coding competitions, competitive programming and so forth. The focus is on academic problems and solving them in an efficient manner. But software engineering is much, much broader than that and less niched. So what I want you to take away from this is that I really encourage you to do competitive programming or code katas and so forth if that is what your interest is. But you cannot neglect, if you want to be a software engineer, your knowledge of tooling, your knowledge of application architecture and application development, soft skills and so forth, because all of these different concepts play in when you want to actually work as a software engineer. If you want to work as a software engineer, these are you need to have a fairly good understanding of all of these things. If you want to be a competitive coder and not get paid a single dime for your skills, then you can go all in on big O notations and execution speeds and highly complicated problems if you want to. But that is not what the majority of software engineers do on a day-to-day basis. So I will tell you this. If you want to work as a software engineer, you can still do that because it's still useful, but don't neglect the actual skills that you use on a daily basis, because those are the skills that are going to matter the most to you. Have a great day.